Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, criminal court, and other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. And if you have a story to tell, you also can find me there as well at dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. I have a return guest. Very happy to have William Sewell on. He's accompanied by Michael Thunder Phillips. He is an investigative reporter and fellow victim. You can find his work on Substack, thunderreport.org, and fatherandcompany.substack. And he's an excellent writer. His writing style is so smooth. I can read his work. I just love it. He reminds me of another writer that I like, James Patterson. And I've told you that before on the phone. So I'm very glad to have you on because they are really mistreating William Sewell in the court system. Apparently, he has this 35-page long order at taxpayer expense. Who writes a 35-page order? Whenever I got an order from a judge, it was one of these. It was like maybe two to 8 pages. Yeah, see that? And it's the taxpayers don't know what they're really paying for. They're also ordering him to pay $30,000 in guardian ad litem fees of these third-party parasites. However, he doesn't really know the exact amount. And apparently, Donnie Ganache, he wants him to pay $90,950.07 of his attorney fees, which is unconstitutional, by the way, and also $8,395 of some other thing that happened last year that they had to tack on. They gave mom sole legal and physical custody with full decision making and first right of refusal, so she's going to be the gatekeeper. And I think $60,000 in attorney fees plays in here. We'll get into that. They're trying to force William Sewell to sell his home. And is this how you treat the father of your child? I would not ever do that to my ex. And I had the opportunity to, and I didn't do it. Um, Also, they've imputed his income, which they do to everybody, and they're imputing him at 3 times what he makes. He doesn't make that much. And they did the same thing to me. And I had heard earlier that they're looking at figures that are like from 1960. This is how they're imputing. They haven't updated anything. So I welcome you both. What do you think of all of this, William?
To be quite honest, it's somewhat shocking and devastating at the same time. To have a judge stand before you uh, that at the point of the trial, um, opposing counsel, we didn't I didn't know this at the time of the final hearing, but opposing counsel, when the judge was running for political office, opposing counsel was one of the top contributors to her campaign. And then in the final hearing, when obviously recusal of the judge for her association and affiliation with opposing counsel was brought up, it was denied. That the judge had indicated that there was no reason whatsoever for there to be any form of bias in this situation at all, and all of that was denied. And we found out after the fact that the Mr. Gamache was one of the biggest contributors to her campaign when she was running for political office. And now to see this final order that's completely a landslide in her favor and the ex-wife's favor. I mean, they essentially gave her every single thing that she asked for and gave me absolutely nothing with zero considerations to anything. And the judge referenced a lot of cases from the past in her decision making, when her decision making in this case is not equatable or fair in any way. And honestly, I don't care what happened in someone else's case or what case law has to say about custody of my child. You shouldn't take a child away from a person if there's no reason to. So
Exactly. Exactly. I'm so sorry to hear about all of this. This, it's all extortion.
it is, and to be accurate on the figures, it's $60,000 in attorney's fees to Donnie Gamache, and then half of the guardian ad litem fees, which were at this point in the final order unspecified. So I have no billing structure or anything to know exactly how much that dollar figure is. It's just half of the guardian ad litem fees.
Oh, okay, so
And
that was like the 30,000 plus the 60,000, whatever.
well, I don't know exactly what the guardian ad litem fees are at the moment. I just know that he requested a fee cap increase of $25,000 for the final hearing just to sit in the chair and listen and then do what little part that he said he had to do in order to keep his fellow attorneys in the courts happy. But his investigation was complete and final prior to the final hearing, and he didn't need to be there. He didn't need to be present. He could have just made his report available to the judge and been done with it. But that's how they do this. This is how they generate this amount of money for these attorneys and the court for simply doing things that are completely unnecessary. All of this is unnecessary. Um, Closing the first divorce when I was the plaintiff down, basing it on the 365-day rule and reopening it as a surprise to me, and making my ex the plaintiff and me the defendant, was completely unnecessary.
Mhm.
This could have been resolved in the first case. But they found an opportunity to play this out and extort money from me, and run me out of money and put me in the position where I was in the final hearing, representing myself pro se, not knowing very much about the law, against two attorneys on the opposing side, and basically half of his legal team from his office all present and accounted for. And
How many were there?
I believe there were three legal assistants and two attorneys.
So he couldn't handle this with just him and one assistant. Seriously, he couldn't handle it.
All I know about Donnie Gamache is that he's corrupt and he's a
Oh yeah,
liar.
Were they
That's
all
all I
wearing
really know.
scrubs?
yeah, the scrubs.
Were they wearing scrubs in the courtroom?
They were wearing their pit bull uniforms. Yes.
And
Scrubs.
hey, what was the initial number though that he threatened you with? Wasn't it like upwards of like $130,000 or something?
I believe that originally it was supposed to have been over $100,000. The final order says that the wife had incurred a little over $90,000. And then in the first divorce, she incurred a little over $8,000 or $9,000, I believe. So close to $100,000. But again, I haven't seen anything as far as bills are concerned. Obviously, we know that all of that was, I guess, uh, exacerbated, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, those attorney's fees were expanded upon by him. This is how he makes his money. Um, I've spoken to other people that were represented by Donnie Gamache, uh, and won their case and still owed him over 80,000. I have the people that were against Donnie Gamache and lost their cases and owed him over $50,000, and all of these people are having to pay him payments. And so he's so uh, I guess connected with so many people that owe him money for all of this, their cases. It's incredible how he does his job. Um,
What
I just it makes
nightmare.
me speechless. I just don't know what to say about it.
This is a nightmare.
It only gets worse, right? I mean, what about
Right.
your issues trying to find another attorney? Every time you called another attorney or spoke with one, like what did you run into?
Um, it seemed like every time I would speak to another attorney, they either had some knowledge of the case from other attorneys, whether they heard it from Gamache or whether they read it online from your articles, and they didn't want to touch it, or they quoted me $10,000 plus to take the case, um, or they said that they didn't want to have anything to do with it altogether because of who it involved. And as soon as they heard Donnie Gamache's name, they didn't want to touch it. So after the final hearing was over, obviously I'm facing a situation where I have to file motions to amend and alter the final order for it to be reheard, um, and an appeal. And so trying to talk to some of the appellate attorneys in town, I went to speak with an attorney here in Somerville. His office is just down the street from Donnie Gamache's, a very popular and well-known attorney named Gil Gatch. And he is also, just like Judge Mandy Kimmons that oversaw this hearing, he is a lawyer legislator, and he sits as one of state representatives. He's a sitting state representative as well as a family law attorney here in Charleston. Um, and I went to him. He quoted me a $400 consultation fee, which I borrowed and paid him. And I met with him for about 45 minutes in his office, where he indicated to me that he had received a Substack about this case and that he was familiar with some of what was going on, and that he didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. He didn't want his name to be associated with it. He didn't think that a motion to alter or amend would be approved in any way or listened to. He didn't think that an appeal would be successful. He said to me that he would recommend that I go see another attorney. And then he took my $400 and sent me out the door. Um, so they're all willing to take your money, and but they're not willing to help you. And if you give them a retainer, if you give them thousands of dollars to help you, then they're just going to work with Donnie Gamache and or the judge and do whatever the plan is to make you seem aggressive or make you seem incapable of being worked with, and then just take your retainer and have themselves removed from the case. So it's literally extortion.
Mike, this is all unconstitutional.
The
Being
Uh,
courts don't recognize the Constitution.
obviously,
that's administrative court, not a court of law, and it's I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing your saddle back there, and I just keep thinking of the Wild Wild West.
yeah.
It's it's kind of the way it operates, and when I came across this case with William and first started talking to him, I mean, I thought I might write a few articles, um, but then very quickly you just see him like the signs of just immediate danger and manipulation and gaslighting all coming from the courts. And the problem is it's I hate to bring up like UFOs and whatnot, but sometimes it's like you know how it is. Like somebody's like, I swear I saw a UFO. I recorded it, I got it, and everybody's like, man, this dude's a nutcase. It wasn't a nutcase before he was suddenly seeing UFOs. He was a normal, well-respected person, but now he saw a UFO. Now he's a nutcase. It's like the same thing with like family court. It's you could have been the greatest parent, the friend, whatever, but then it's as soon as you're in family court and you start explaining the craziness that you run into, it's like UFOs. Like you're a stranger. Like you must be eating some weird s it Sorry, try not to
Mhm.
swear. Meet some weird stuff, or like you're banking and having fun with some paraphernalia, and it's like, man, this guy's like far out there, and it's like, no, man, this is family court, and you don't know. The hardest part is you don't know until you get there, and it's impossible to prepare for. I mean, all you get blogs of self-helps like this is how you do this is how you do that, and they're all nonsense. They're all wrong. Like it's and of course it's not everybody, but it's enough of people. But it's the people. I think it was talking with you over the phone too that it's like the empaths, it's the kind people, it's the people with a heart, the people that care are the ones that get screwed over the most, the ones who could be
Mhm.
manipulated the most. And but back to his case, I mean, and especially as it started going to trial, I tried to help him out with pre-trial motions because we're like, wait, there was no pre-trial hearing. I'm like, this is weird. Like there's nothing about instructions like how to enter your exhibits. There's no just like basic stuff didn't exist. And he couldn't answer. And I've run into the same things. I'm sure you've run into the same things where you go to the clerk, you go to somebody, and you're asking basic questions like procedural. How
Mhm.
do I put this document into evidence? How do I you put this document, like am I required to send it to this person and this person? Like simple procedural things, and they won't answer it. But then you get into his case itself, and what really sets it apart is like this duo of Donnie Gamache and Judge Mandy Kimmons that like they're definitely colluding with each other. Um, Speaking with William like every day, whether it was on a break or after the day, and the things he would say, like of course Donnie's gonna portray it like, oh, he's lying, he's making this stuff up. But who makes this stuff up when you have a little bald man yelling at you, screaming at you in a courtroom, whether, over anything and everything, literally saying, I'm going to destroy you. And it's like, why are you so angry with me? What? I don't even know you. I'm trying to keep my relationship with my kid and to keep my business together and to keep my house together so I still have a place for my kid. Who the hell are you, you little small little rodent, to yell at me in the middle of the courtroom? And then to make it worse is like Mandy Kim is essentially doing the same thing and getting angry, of course, over the articles, but why would you be so angry unless you can't handle the truth?
Mhm.
I was worried about publishing a lot of this stuff, but at the same time, because of everything that I've been through and the number of people that I've spoken with, the same stories, um, let's push their buttons. Like, let's see what their true colors are. Let's put an article out and see what happens. And as upsetting and as difficult as it made for William on that particular day, which wouldn't have been different if I didn't file, if I didn't publish the articles. Like he was still going to have a difficult day. He was still going to get the runaround. He was still going to get the threats of attorney's fees and like every other little thing. He was still going to watch the guardian ad litem running around, hanging out with his ex-wife and Donnie Gamache's team, like they're little children at like a high school lunch break or something like that. Like it's like these little cliques,
Yeah.
but then I was like, I need to publish these articles as almost like a social test or whatever you want to call it, just to see how they react and to tell me, for William to tell me how they reacted. And it's like, it's literally like they fell into their own trap of how stupid their schemes are. And it's like, we see you're trying to fleece citizens, taxpayers of their money, and they're trying to strike fear into everybody that enters the courtroom, which is the absolute opposite of what should be happening in a family setting, especially if it's in the best interest of the child. So why is it that a good, working blue collar veteran American should be I don't know, literally like shanking, like pissing himself, like being broken down to the core of just breaking a man down who is to this point, for all I know, about him, has led a good life and tried hard to provide, and he's probably done some things that he did fitting in because he thought he was safe in his marriage.
Mm.
I could relate to that. There was things that I probably did in my marriage because I thought I was safe, and it could be, as simple as just opening up to them and sharing information. It doesn't have to be like what you run around
Hmm.
town doing with like parties or whatever, but just like opening up to your special person, and then all that stuff gets used against you. And when you're the litigant on the wrong end of things, it's like everybody's just lobbing hand grenades at you. You got, his ex-wife, he's got Donnie, he's got the gall, he's got the judge, he's got every lawyer that won't talk to him. He's got all of the people that have turned their backs on him because of they don't know which way, left and right. They don't know who to believe other than they see ex-wife has the child, making sure I'm not saying names. Um, that she has the power, so she must be right. But they're all just as naive or blind to everything because they haven't themselves actually been a part of the process. So they just kind of I was starting to write up something on third parties and all, and that goes especially with friends and family. I mean, I've literally had every friend and family member turn their back on me the past several years for my own case.
Hmm.
Uh, and you just see these same patterns happen all over again. And then you see these same kind of slime dog attorneys that really repeat some of the same tactics. And then, they prey on people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then and I'm sorry, I've been like gabbing for a while here, but like they're like, I constantly think to myself, and this is like my recent thoughts too, because like I play a lot through my head, like, okay, I got to get myself back in the court. What am I going to do? How am I going to deal with these people? And it's like I feel like the next time I go to court, how am I going to take the court seriously? And I start thinking, who the hell in their right mind ever grew up thinking, man, I'm going to be a family law attorney? Like you're a used car salesman. You are the scum of the legal, industry. Like there is
Right.
nothing good
They're
about it.
they're right up there with the DUI attorneys.
Yeah, and then the fact that like, one became a state legislator with no experience, and then still with not much legal experience was able to become a judge. I hate to say it, but who the hell is she effing?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's and it could be, tiny balls gamache for all we know.
Hmm. Well,
It was on the internet, public knowledge that the Gamache law firm was considered one of the top contributors to her campaign when
Yeah,
she
I
was.
looked all that stuff up. I saw how much yeah, Gamache was up there, and then I mentioned a couple names, and you were like, dude, that's like the main family in town. Like, what was the name of the
Knight family.
which one?
The Knight family.
Yes, the Knight family. Yeah. There was like five or six different Knights or something on the list, and then you were like, dude, that's like the family. Like everything is named after them. And here they are, also their main contributors to Kimmons campaigns.
Yeah, the Knight family owns a lot of businesses and a lot of property and stuff in and around Dorchester County. Obviously, the judicial complex where the hearing was held is the Knight complex. The sheriff, L.C. Knight, was the presiding sheriff in town. The Knight family is a large family in Dorchester County. But it's all about who you know and the connections that are made. This is what they do. This is how they control this system that puts so much profit in their pockets. Um, and this was just sort of a landslide decision on the ex-wife's part by the judge. I can't believe how they can get away with doing this. Um, Nancy Mace recently posted a TikTok where she discussed one of the major problems that we're having in this state is the lawyer legislators that we have making decisions, and the South Carolina Bar Association and the Attorney General's office, and how all of the corruption and collusion that we have taking place in the South Carolina court systems and legal systems are major position of concern or a major point of concern for Nancy Mace. And I'm really hoping that she will get engaged in this situation as well as my case specifically. I would really love to have Nancy Mace's help in this, uncovering a lot of this corruption, uncovering a lot of what's going on, and hopefully disbarring Donnie Gamache
Mhm.
and Mandy Kimmons, if at all possible. Um, I just like, again, I can't believe that people that are in a position of law, a public representative, people are in a position of power that are willing to do what they're doing to me. I mean, they've taken my child from me, and they're forcing me to possibly sell my home and uproot my entire life for nothing. I was not the one in this case that was uncooperative. I did everything I could to cooperate.
Mhm.
This is Donnie Gamache trying to generate as much profit as he can for himself and all of his fellow attorneys in this town, including the guardian ad litem and my three ex-attorneys, and try and produce as much income as he can for the court systems by requesting a 5-day hearing and then requesting a judge that he knows is going to provide him with a favorable outcome for his client. And this is how he plans and works through his cases, and this is how he wins his cases. And hopefully someone with more political power and more ability to do something about this can see what's happening. Hopefully the Department of Justice report that we filed about this case gains a little bit of traction. Hopefully the report that was filed with the FBI is picked up and investigated. All I can do is pray that at some point someone holds these people accountable for what they're doing to not only me, but my daughter,
Mhm.
and what they're allowing these attorneys to get away with. I mean, this is literally legal extortion, what they're doing. They're using the law and they're using the court systems and the family courts to extort money from people that they don't have.
Mhm.
And they're literally destroying people's lives. And these are the people that are supposed to be protecting us and helping mediate a situation that could be, resolved with little to no effort at all. Just sitting two people down and saying, this is yours, this is yours, this is how much you make, this is how much you make. Everything is fair and even, and you go your separate ways.
Mhm.
And they could do this honestly and quickly and efficiently, and then move on to the next customer and still probably generate a similar amount of money by having more clients and just being honest and upfront about things. But instead, they do this. They extort money. They increase attorneys' fees for no reason. They charge completely just exacerbated fees. I mean, $400 for a consultation just to sit down for an hour with an attorney for him to say, I'm not going to help you and I don't want anything to do with this. Um, and then, the man took the time to tell me, um, I really think that you should stop trying to report all of this and tell everybody your story, because in all of my years of being a family attorney and a political figure, I've never seen anyone accomplish or gain any ground in trying to expose the court systems or the family courts. I mean, Gil Gatch told me, you're not going to get anywhere with all of this.
Oh,
your podcasts or your Substacks or any of your news articles. He said, I've never seen anyone gain anything from doing that. You're literally as the crazy person for doing all of this. And then the man stood up and he prayed with me before we walked out the door because he is a pastor.
oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so I'll say this. Legal abuse has got to be put in your appeal because that's in the DSM. Okay. We've got to start talking more and putting this into appeals. I'm not an attorney. I can't give any legal advice because there's no such thing as good legal advice. But legal abuse is in the DSM. That's exactly what they're doing to you. This attorney and this judge and all these other ex-lawyers that failed you. On top of that, they're all complicit in child psychological abuse. They are child psychological abusers for keeping you away from your child when there's no reason why you can't see your child on a 50-50 basis.
Agreed. I mean,
And then there's the biggest barrier to appeals though is like the first thing they ask for you is transcripts. And then how much transcripts cost. I mean, that could be several $1,000s, and especially for a 5 day trial that he just had, that becomes a barrier. William already pointed out um, with me, and I'm sure others that I'm not as special and unique, but that Donnie had already filed to receive a copy of the transcripts, and that's great. You could point to him and say, "Well, Donnie already got them, so why do I need to?" But then you get the problem of, do you trust the transcripts from him? I'm sure he has an in with a court reporter to give an official edit, or he just edits it on his own. But I'm sure the first thing he does is go through there and cuts out the part where he was yelling at you. Like some of those things like that could really make him look unethical as an attorney. But that was always my biggest issue of myself filing appeals is I'm like, man, I don't have any money. I can't afford these transcripts. And I'd file for what is it to get a waiver of fees and whatnot, apply, trying to file for like a hardship. Um, I mean, of course they're not going to do anything. It's just it's like family law itself is appeals is just another court that is financially, I mean, because of finances makes it inaccessible for your everyday, average Joe litigant, So I think that's the hard part now is we're trying to weigh up to put together and file an appeal. But is William going to be able to put the money together to do it? And that's a problem.
Mhm.
That's a problem. Courts should not be inaccessible. Um, you can get access to the audio much cheaper and transcribe stuff on your own. Like there's other ways that you could do it. You can get the transcripts, but it's like it's it's how much gets put on the shoulders of a person who has no legal experience
Mhm.
to cover all these financial costs. And the majority of us are like, I mean, I want to say majority. I mean, the majority of us that are forced to get to the point of having to go to trial probably can't afford all this stuff anyway. How many are going to trial self-represented versus, how many cases does each side have an attorney where they actually go to trial for their family law issues? I mean, it's the amount of people that are representing themselves is like unbelievable. And the courts cast shame on you when it's your constitutional right to represent yourself, whether you're doing it out of, on your own free will or out of necessity. And
Mhm.
I think most people are doing it out of necessity. But that's another barrier is the cost of entry to play the game is already high. And then they create these other games to
Mhm.
steal more money from you, as what William is experienced with his trial. And um, it's, like you want to talk about facts. You want to talk about why he's a good parent. You want to talk about why he deserves to see his child. But instead, he's in here like living in fear. Like the first thing, our first conversation was over that um what you thought was an order, but it turns out it wasn't, because it wasn't signed. But as a self-represented litigant, like, how do you know? But it was that thing that was saying that the $25,000 for the golf fees, the guardian ad litem, or all the fees for Donnie Gamache. And it's like, what the hell am I even paying for? How? And it's like when you're throwing, it's like you can have order, you can have people getting along, maybe figuring things out, but it's like when the ATM explodes and money starts blowing everywhere, like everybody goes nuts. And while this isn't an ATM, it's ATM for these guys, but it's like when you start just flooding numbers and money everywhere, it dilutes the entire reason why you're there. You get these litigants, you get us litigants scared over money, which becomes like our biggest fear. How are we going to live? How are we going to support seeing our children? Um, how do you now you can't even really focus on your case because you're stressed over whether or not you're even going to have a roof over your head, let alone here, look at these cool little pictures of my kids playing with puppies. It's like, look, we do fun things together. That's how I prepared my whole case, was to show how great of a parent I was.
Mhm.
And then I found a bulldog attorney, opposing counsel, here in Maryland, that just tore me to shreds. And I'm like, listen, lady, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's like, you're an alcoholic, you're angry, you're mean and abusive, and I'm like, why, why am I having to defend myself against this stuff? And then I'm like telling the judge, like, none of this stuff is true. And it's like, well, you got to answer the questions, you gotta go through it all. Um, and I'm like, what am I answering? And then I look unruly because I'm not able to answer questions. And it's like, what am I answering? I can't answer that I'm abusive if I'm not abusive. If there's no history, no exhibits, no witnesses, nothing that says I am that person, why am I having to defend against it? And that's exactly what William's having to go through. It's like the guy with the prisoner, like shooting bullets at someone's feet to make him dance. And
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's like that's what they do to people like us. And
It didn't matter. It honestly, it did not matter. I walked in, I think 8 witnesses, I believe, and my witnesses testified in court to the judge and everyone else in the room that what Leslie was saying was a lie, and that I was a fantastic father, one of the best fathers they had ever seen, that I was present, that what Leslie was saying happened, uh, that was the demise of our divorce, was a lie. Basically, there was even one of my witnesses that Mr. Gamache didn't even have anything to say back to, because his testimony was so powerful and so moving to everyone in the room that 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 I was a good father, that I was that, that this was wrong, that this was not my fault. And he's a pastor. He's actually a close friend of mine, a neighbor that lives across the street, almost like family to me.
Mhm.
And he went in there and he told the judge that this man is not who you think he is, that this man is not what his ex-wife is telling you about him, that this isn't true. And I even had another witness come in that was present the night that this took place, that our separation began, and said that I was there and I witnessed it, and what she's saying is not true. And all of the evidence that I brought was ignored, and all of the motions that I filed to try and get some justice were denied. And it was literally like a landslide. I just felt like there was no justice to be had in any way, and that this was the plan all along. Like
Hmm.
the plan was to just run him out of money and put him where he was defenseless, and then we would attack him in every way possible, first financially and then legally. And then we'll cover him up with procedural crap that he can't work his way out of because he doesn't know the rules and he doesn't know how to file a motion and he doesn't know what the rules of evidence are or anything like that. So we'll just destroy him through procedural stuff. And the clerk of the court will turn him away and say, we're not giving you legal advice when I'm asking for procedural things. And the courts won't allow evidence because I don't know how to submit it the way the court says it has to be submitted, or a motion's not going to be accepted because everyone wasn't served properly. When I'm not a server, I don't know anything about service. Donnie Gamache literally got the man who claims he served me to come to the final hearing and testify in court under oath that he met me face to face, that I was a pleasant person, that we briefly spoke, and that he served me the temporary orders. And I had never met that man before in my life.
At
Donnie
least he called you
Gamache's
a pleasant
influence.
person.
Sorry, what?
I said at least he called you a pleasant person, that you should have used that against everything else that they were saying about you. But I think the one thing that is like the most scary is that they literally laid out a plan that they were gonna scorch the earth and rob everything that you have. They laid it out with with the threats for the guardian ad litem fees, with the threats for the attorney fees. They made the threats that they were going to force you to sell your home. They made the threats that they were going to try to
I was
take your
going to be
business from you. What's that?
that I was going to be put in jail. Gil
Yeah,
Gatch told me
threats,
if you don't, these people,
threats
they're
that you
going
were
to
going to be
put you
put in
in.
jail. Like they've made all these threats, and it's what is sad is that it does not matter how much you know as a self-represented litigant. It does not, it did not matter how many witnesses you trucked in there. It did not matter what evidence you brought in there. They had a plan that they were going to act on
Hmm.
because these little greedy turds they want to get their bag. It's like, what is that like in like gangster, like gang slang or whatever, man. It's like, let me get my bag, I need my bag, because they want their bag of cash essentially. Um, and that's what they're trying to do. It's not about the truth. It's not about what the right thing is. To you, you're just another, tadpole or whatever, little fish in the lake that they can just bend you over and screw you over, whatever, man, and then take everything you have. And there'll be ways where you can avoid having to give everything you have. But like you've pointed out to others, you're now on a Rolodex of somebody that owes money, whether you could pay it all up front now, you got to do it later. It might take a lifetime. You're on Donnie's Rolodex, and they did that without, by obviously violating various procedures but by blatantly ignoring your individual rights. They didn't, there were like, you were never going to get a fair trial. You were never going, you were never going to get your evidence. Like I helped you walk through and go through how to submit the evidence. We even, filed a motion, like going through the notices of discovery and making sure they get this and that. And knowing that I've been through that stuff and I knew how to file it. I knew it was complete and utter bull that
Hmm.
when they were saying that you didn't file it correctly. Like it's a load of crap. Like
Hmm.
it's a crooked ass county that you're in, and it was no surprise like that. Like apparently South Carolina is the most crooked because they also have the least amount of lawyers per capita, which was interesting.
Hmm.
So it's like, for every, you think it's weird. Like you would think that like, man, well, yeah, that's all I got. You would think, man, I had a thought going, it kind of just trailed off. But it's
Oh.
interesting, is because that means there's less attorneys playing the game, or less attorneys that could be, maybe an actual good attorney.
Hmm.
Or why, maybe it's that way because it's like like a sorority, or whatever, like some exclusive club that they're not going to let a lot of new attorneys in unless they're going to play the game. And you got somebody young like Mandy Kimmons who was willing to play the game, and it got her a judgeship. I mean, it's pretty sick because she clearly does not seem like somebody qualified to be sitting on the bench, especially when she raised her voice at you, and not understanding things like basic free speech and freedom of the press, and treating it like you are the bad guy, you're the one in the wrong because you spoke to me and I put a story out. um you know Whatever, man. There's some messed up people.
Right. Well, even if you submitted the evidence right, and I have done that too, you submit it right, you serve all parties, they don't look at it anyway. This is what I'm finding out doing this podcast for going on 5 years. No one's looking at evidence on how they're getting away with this.
Well, they're getting away with it because no one's doing anything about it. And we've got politicians that are claiming they want to look into it. Nancy Mace has made public reports that she's looking into the corruption and the collusion that's taking place. Um, thankfully, I was able to reach out to Michael Phillips. I was able to reach out to you to get some of this put on public record. I've also tried to work with some of the local investigative reporters here in the Charleston area. All I can do is hope that our politicians, our representatives, Nancy Mace gets involved in this
Mhm.
and looks into this. And I don't know if it'll be in time to do anything to help me in my specific case. I really hope there is, and she does. But maybe the DOJ report will go somewhere. Maybe the FBI report will go somewhere. Uh, Maybe Gilgatch is right. Maybe no matter what we do to try and expose this extortion and this collusion is going to go nowhere. That this is such a cash cow for these people that they are going to continue to extort from people and damage people's lives willingly for profit, and they're going to get away with it. And that Rolodex of people on Donnie Gamache's desk that owe him money is just going to keep on getting fatter and fatter because he's got the political, connections, and he's got the connections with DSS, and he's got the connections with the sheriff's department, and he's set himself up for success to win cases for his clients. And he doesn't care how much damage he has to do to gain that ability. Um,
God
I
is
just
watching. God is watching.
I mean, it's great if you're playing like in a cornhole tournament, and you're trying to do everything to win. But man, not in family law. Like that kind of practicing as an attorney. I mean, it goes back to where I was saying, like, what kind of actual human being wants to become a family law attorney? And you get the kind of scum of Donnie Gamache, and that sums it up. And you get a bunch of people that are just all about gaslighting. Nobody can give you a straight answer. It's everything to keep you in a cloud of dust, because if you figure out the game,
Mhm.
you know, even that doesn't matter, because they're just going to find a way to, they could just target you with money. They could target you with your children, and though they just fight harder and harder to go against you, and then that's what makes questionable is like, hey, there's like this rash of suicides in like Westchester, New York, these
Right.
last few weeks, these
Mhm.
like few others, and it's like, like does that raise enough eyebrows?
Mhm.
Like,
what has to happen to get recognition, to get, I mean, really and truly, everyone out there that this has happened to needs to stand up for themselves and stand up for their rights. And they need to try and expose this, and they need to try and reach their representatives and their political, positioned representatives wherever they live. And they need to try and get as much light shed on this as possible, and it needs to happen. Like, this is one of the most dangerous situations that our country has, that exists today, and we're focusing on trying to worry about things that we shouldn't. Trying uh, to send people back over the border and things like that. And we really need to worry about what's going on here right now, what's affecting our children. These are the next leaders of our country. These are the next CEOs of companies. Our children are the people that are the most important things in this country and in this world. And these attorneys and these judges are doing things that are destroying their lives. And we've got to stand up to this, and we've got to do it now. So if you're out there and you know about my case, or you have a similar case like this, or like Michael's, or like Mary Ann's, and this has happened to you, then stand up for yourself. Speak out to everyone who will listen, and don't worry about being labeled as a crazy person. Tell the truth and be honest, and tell the people who can hold these people accountable and reform this system, and stop this from happening to other people. I mean, if I have to be the scapegoat in this and be the one that loses everything in order to keep someone else's kids safe, then by all means go for it, because I'm already the victim here.
And
Sounds like
there's,
you're ready to run for political office there, huh?
yeah, well, there's no shame in going pro se. I know when I did that, I had to. I had three useless attorneys. They were ineffective. And I told my dad I was going pro se. He says, well, you know what they say about pro ses? And I said, what? That we're crazy? Well, hey, crazy like a fox. I've won two cases out of three in the Superior Court of Pennsylvania. So there you go. Yep.
I don't think that there was ever going to be a win for me in this court.
You never know. Hey, I never thought I'd beat him on the child support. Go out there and appeal and keep doing it and be persistent.
As long as I can afford to continue to fight, and as long as I still have the energy left to fight, I'm going to continue to fight for whatever I can, because my ability to father and parent my child and take care of my child, place for her to live and be a part of her life, is more important to me than anything.
Hmm.
And now the second most important to me thing in life to me is to expose these people for what they're doing to not only me but everyone else, and try to
Hmm.
get some reform in this court system for all three of us and our children and everyone else that this has happened to.
Right. I personally don't think we can reform this court system. I don't know how we reform corruption. It's so deep. I just think they should just abolish family court and find some other, I'm just throwing it out. I'm just saying civil court where a parent can have a jury if needed. I don't have the answers, but someone out there might. But, I thank you both for coming on. And, you know, Mike, how can people reach you? Do you want people to reach you through your Substack, fatherandcompany.substack?
Yeah, you can reach me whether it's at fatherandco.substack.com. Mention there's thunderreport.org. You can shoot me an email at mike@thunderreport.org. Whether it's you want to share your story, you want to expose something, you want to collaborate on something, you hit me up there. Um, Certainly on the investigative reportive side. I mean, this is something that um, that's my way of giving back. And so, William is speaking the same way, and you have your podcast. Like it's you're seeing that we all are giving back in some way, fighting the cause, and getting more on the investigative reportive side is kind of my way of doing so. And in our own little UFO community.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm happy to hear other people's stories as well, and find a way to. I keep thinking of Seth Rollins from WWE. You know, his song starts out "Burn it down."
Yeah.
So the system does need to be polished. There's nothing that you can do
Mm-mm.
that's gonna fix it with a tweak here and there. All of these
No.
laws, it's great that they're passing some laws here and there, but they're just show and tell. They're not getting to the root cause of the problem. And that's what we need to target, and what the true root cause is. Unfortunately, there's a lot of those too. And that can get into whether it's Congress and certainly laws that they've passed. Certainly there's all of the elements of funding like the Title 40 and uh
Hmm.
is it like five? Is it Title 40, 4E, or is it 5E? I think it's almost like I want to scream bingo every time I
Yeah.
start hearing the
Yeah.
acronyms.
It's Title
Um,
4 B, D, and E.
there's, yeah, but there's just so many things that need to be overturned. There's things that need to be really dissected and reviewed to say, hey, is this working? Is it really
Mm.
working the way the federal government is funding the states with these incentives that it only incentivizes the courts to act like a bunch of
Like
dip,
the mafia.
I just want to, yeah, like the mafia. I want to go all like I'm originally from the Jersey Shore. I want to just start dropping some F-bombs, but there are also general terms like mafia, and I should know that being from Jersey as well. But yeah, it's like a mafia ring. It's disgusting, and it's not
Right.
just South Carolina. It's not just Pennsylvania. It's not just Maryland, like where I'm at. It's literally like every state is facing the same problems, and because of that, it should show pretty damn clear something needs to be done. Or I mean, I don't know what the root outcome or whatever. I mean, do we all like turn into Antifa and storm a courthouse with a bunch of bricks that were left out by Home Depot? Like, I don't know. Um, I'm not really all about violence and hurting anybody, but it's like it's what do you do? Or you just continue to flood the inboxes of your legislators, like Nancy Mace? Like, are we just become a bunch of pesky individuals? I mean, we got to keep trying and we got to keep fighting the system, but doing it in a way that's not gonna detract from our goals and the purpose, So certainly not turning into to a Antifa, but it's a lot, and there's a lot of heads that need to be getting their heads put together. There's people that are just scratching the surface, just entering into the family courts, all the way up to people that have been involved for years and trying to drum up legislation to change things. But I think what's not happening enough is attacking the true root causes of the issues,
Mhm.
which are what I mentioned, all the acronyms and the alphabet soup and and there's a lot of judicial like the Judicial Reforms Act of 1991, I think is like the big one.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of these acts that were passed that have just destroyed family values.
Mhm.
Family values don't exist in this country anymore
No.
because it's not profitable enough.
Right. Right. Since this Gilgatch was so prayerful with you, I was very prayerful. I think a lot of people might know my story, but I had this judge that was crazy, and and I didn't know what to think of him. And I said, God, you deal with him. I don't know what to think. He's running the case like a three-ring circus. One minute he's talking about child custody, then he's talking about a pension fund, then he's talking about child support. And it was round and round. I was getting whiplash. And I said, God, you deal with him. And I March 2nd of 2015 is when he took my boys away from me for no good reason. We all knew it. It was all rigged. But 2 years later, on March 2nd of 2017, with all that prayer, right? My friend called me up and said, Did you see the news? And I said, No. She said, Your judge died. So I have also seen God work in 24 hours, much less 2 years. Hmm. Prayer is very powerful.
Well, we can't all die.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you another one. My first opposing attorney, I used to be a psychiatric nurse. I've seen the good and the bad on a psych unit. The way this woman was behaving as an attorney, I've never seen anyone behave like that on a psych unit. She was crazy. She was wearing these weird pink pumps, a pleather moto jacket, and pleather capris, tight capris. And she's prancing around trying to find out how much money my current husband makes. And I said, he doesn't fit into the equation. And I'm going, dear God, get her away from me. She's really nuts. And within 3 months, my attorney sends me a letter saying, we have to do a continuance because she now has cancer. So these things happen. You know, my former attorney who torpedoed my case, I said, well, God, you got to deal with these people. Just deal with these people. Dear God, deal with them. And, you know, he dropped dead of a heart attack 2 years, well, probably now 3 years or 4 years ago. So God's very creative, to say the least.
I think right now the most important thing is that we get people in power that need to listen, that need to know this information because they're not hearing it, obviously, or they are and they're ignoring it. But we need to try everything in our power to reach the people that need to know about these situations and help us with reforming or abolishing these extortion rings, these colluding attorneys, these incentivized courts, this process that they are following. You know, they can create this plan and they have a backup plan for every option, everything that comes at them to just take everything they can from a person instead of things being fair and even and parenting children. They tear people apart and they take money and they take property and they line. They're the ones that are getting rich. You know, I've heard so many people tell me that no one wins in a divorce but the attorney, and that shouldn't be that way. It should be the only person that wins in a divorce is the child. That's what it should be. The only person that wins in a divorce is the child because two people should be able to separate and divorce and dissolve a marital contract between the two of them and separate their finances and still be parents equally involved in a child's life. So it should no longer be the only person that wins in a divorce is the attorney. It should be the only person that wins in a divorce is the child.
I
And
agree.
that's what we need our politicians to. We need our politicians involved. We need the bar association to step up and do the right thing. We need to stop these attorneys from colluding and planning out situations that do nothing but take money from people. We
It'd
need
be
to get.
fun. To be fun. The bar association's Christmas party. You know, they're not gonna. They're not gonna like back like changing anything. I mean, it's got to come from you know, outside of them.
We've got to get some. We've got to get some higher ups. You know, higher up political figures. We need to get someone with some power to take notice of this and say, okay, these people aren't just crazy. This is really happening, and this is a major problem. It's affecting our children. It's affecting our, you know, it's affecting everything. It's a teeter effect. Um, and, you know, and when you damage, you know, when you damage people's lives like this, it affects the economy. It affects everything, and um, somebody's got to do something about it. And hopefully, in my case, the DOJ or the FBI or Nancy Mace will step in, or someone will step in and listen and do something about it. Hopefully, I can find some relief in the courts to do something about this 35-page order that I've got sitting here, and I won't lose my house. And I will pay as much as I can pay. But at the end of the day, I can only, you know, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. I mean, I'm going to pay him what I can. But, you know, even Gil Gatch told me when I was in his office, if you don't pay them, they will put you in jail. So I've got to figure something out. And hopefully with people's help like Michael and his legal experience and some of the other people that are helping me, hopefully I'll be able to find a way.
Well, definitely. If you want anyone to reach you, do you want them to come through me?
It doesn't matter. They can come through you. They can reach out to Michael through Substack. They can reach out to me directly. Any way possible. You can message me through any of the articles on Substack. You can message me through, I think, YouTube, through your
Mhm.
podcasts there. They can reach you. It doesn't matter. And if anyone sees this or has any knowledge of this case and what's going on, and you're in the state of South Carolina, reach out to Nancy Mace yourself.
Mhm.
Um, we've got to reach these people. We've got to find someone to help us get this problem resolved.
I agree. And I thank you both for coming on and exposing all of this because the taxpayer needs to know. So don't jump off, okay? Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube. Please like and subscribe, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, William Sewell and Mike Thunder Phillips. Thank you so much for popping on.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.